And now it's time for the end. That's the name of the episode, and it's fitting because it was the end of Lizzie's bi-weekly vlogs, and it is also the end of my bi-weekly look backs. I will, as I have mentioned, continue to make episodes, but they're going to be once a week. So there will be nothing on Saturday, but come back next Tuesday and I will continue to tell you about my journey with the Lizzie Bennet Diaries after we finished filming. If the tea is really what you're after, you will get the most of that via the Patreon. My name is Ashley Clements, and these are the Look Back Diaries. It's been such a journey. It's been such a year. Here's something that I 1000% did not consider when I decided to do this project. Just the main series of the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, and thank you to whoever did this math, because I would never in 1,000 years have done it. But that clocks in around 8 hours. If you just watch 100 episodes of the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, 8 hours. I have made 100 episodes and 2 cuts of each episode because there's always a longer Patreon cut as well. And my episodes average what? Maybe like 20 minutes? I don't know exactly how many hours of content I have made and edited to the extent that I am in physical therapy in the last year, but it was a lot. It was a lot of hours. It was so many hours, and I did not think about that part. I did not think, hey, why don't I produce like more hours of content than a network TV show would if they made a 22 episode season? I did not think about that, which means that much like ending the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, there's kind of a bitter sweetness to ending this. Not that it's completely over, but at least ending the twice a week part. And there have been some really lovely things along the way. I've talked a lot about how meaningful it was to reconnect with dear friends that I made over a decade ago on the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, especially coming out of the pandemic, people that I hadn't talked to as much or seen at all because we were all trapped inside. You lived it too. And having this lovely excuse to reach out means that I have been in much better touch with many dear friends. And it's been really lovely to be reminded of how much this series meant to people and to hear from you. I read your comments, and there are so many things that I thought didn't work, or because I knew what we were trying to do and we didn't accomplish that, felt sticky to me. But you, as the audience, I mean, y'all will justify anything. But some of your headcanons were really lovely and really interpreted things in a different way than I could have anticipated you would take it, because I knew what we were trying to do. And it's been really lovely to hear some of your ideas or perceptions of how it came across to you. And as much as I am not Lizzie Bennet, I have been watching this younger version of myself, this younger actor that I was. And in that way, it was kind of like reading my own old diaries or watching old family videos. I mean, most of us don't have video footage of us early in our careers, and that is mostly a good thing. But it's also nice to, with enough remove, be able to look back and go, ah, kid, you did good. You did the absolute best you could with what you had at the time. And to love and honor our past selves as well, because they are inside us too, forever part of us. And younger Ashley is forever a part of me, and so is Lizzie Bennet. Really, truly life changing experience in so many ways. I've said before that everything in my life in Los Angeles is either directly because of or indirectly because of the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. And that's partly because I moved here right out of grad school with no friends. And aside from the people working my crappy day job with me, I didn't know anyone. And so the cast and crew of the Lizzie Bennet Diaries were really the first friends that I made in Los Angeles. And that led to many other connections that become more indirect, but can still be traced back to this origin point. And the Lizzie Bennet Diaries also really changed how I viewed my career and what was possible. I have wanted to be an actor since I was 6 years old, with an impressive amount of clarity and determination for a small child. But I was all about the theater. I have an undergraduate degree in theater, and then I got an MFA in acting, all geared toward the stage, which is where I thought I wanted to be, and ended up in Los Angeles not because I particularly wanted to pursue film, but because I did not want to be where I was before. And then I booked the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, and my theater training was so vital, and they were really so lucky that I had that. But I was also introduced to the possibilities of what you can do on camera. And even though the vlog style of the Lizzie Bennet Diaries is not all the way to more traditional on camera styles of acting, it was perhaps for me the perfect bridge to help me understand and fall in love with on camera acting. And also being introduced to the idea in the wild west of the web that it was possible to tell my own stories, to have access to not just having to wait to be chosen, which is so much of what it is to be an actor. And it is so disempowering and so frustrating for so many actors. And I was introduced to this world and to people who were not waiting for anyone else to tell them it was okay to make their art. And that had a huge impact in what my career would look like after the Lizzie Bennet Diaries as well. We haven't even watched the episode yet. Let's take a look back, shall we? Well, the big smile. Hello.
Episode 100.
I know.
100. Can you
That's a
believe it?
lot. I
I
can believe
can't.
it.
And well, I've
And that blue
changed a
shirt,
lot over the last
I
few
did
weeks,
this
and
very
with everything going
intentionally.
on
That's
in
the
my
blue
life,
shirt
it's
from episode
prevented
number
me
one, but with a
from
sweater
getting
over
to
it.
make a big
You're
change. So my name
welcome.
is Izzy Bennett, and this is the final
Oh.
page.
No, wait, this is the final page. And no, the book didn't exist yet. We didn't know about the book.
So yes, this is going to be my last video. 100
Yeah.
feels like a good
I
place
think
to
we
stop.
had
I know a lot of you
warned
don't want
the
me to end
fans
my
in
videos, but I
advance of
think this has
that,
been a grand
but
chapter in my life, and
it
now it's
it
time to move on
was.
to the next one.
Yeah.
First, I want to
Move
thank
on
all of
to
you
doing
viewers.
Darcy. What? Oh,
I
sorry.
never got to meet any of you, but hopefully you feel like you got to really know me. Because
Yeah.
I know I
We had a
did.
real
There's no
parasocial
way my hand
relationship with
is
you,
really
girl.
in front of tens of thousands of people. I went through a
With
lot while on
millions,
this
maybe.
journey, and hopefully you learned as much as I did. Or more. And before I leave you all for a while, I
I
want
feel
to
like
fill
she's
you in
almost
on some
saying
details.
some of the same stuff I just said at the beginning of my video. This episode was also intentionally mirroring the first episode in terms of the three people
I
in
feel
it.
that the viewers know the
I
insimilarities in my
remember
life.
the writers talking
This is
about
not
not
how I
wanting
feel
to kind of eliminate
particularly
everything
often.
else we had done with all these other
How
characters
are
and
the
just make it
viewers?
about Lizzie and Darcy, which is why we
So,
ended with
Richard
Darcy in
Collins has
99.
moved up to Winnipeg, Manitoba,
Winnipeg,
Manitoba
Manitoba.
Valley, so he can develop Collins and Collins in Canada. C and
C
C
and C
in
in
C.
C.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
help
think
me with this
those are
young
funny
musician.
lines.
And
They're
Collins and
is
Collins
she
will
fun?
be
Is
running
she
the
real?
company now. Amazing, right? My C is now the big C. It's C and
It's
C.
CNC. Yep, it's funny. I like
I
it.
couldn't have done it without you. And you guys.
What did they do?
I'm so
How did they
happy,
help?
Charlotte.
We
Charlotte,
just loved
I'm
our
safe. Let's do
fans.
the cheesy big graphics thing while I'm
Yeah,
writing
let's
you.
do a little throwback. It's our last one. Yay! Little mustache.
Great, that was
Mm-hmm.
fun. Hey, Lizzie, ready for Froyo?
Oh, and we bring back
Oh no, this is going to be my
Lydia
last video.
to show that she's
Are
okay.
you sure you're not
She's
stopping
in
because of
brighter
me because of this?
colors.
No, definitely not. I'm stopping because the timing felt right. I'm
I'm
stopping now.
stopping because Pride and Prejudice is over and we don't have any more story to tell.
I guess I should just something. What is it?
This was a real prop. Katie Most made this. I'm not entirely sure who wrote the list of what was on it. I don't know if Katie wrote it or I don't know. It feels like something Rachel may have written, but it.
What happened to the old
Did we ever
one?
share it on social media? Like it.
Wasn't
It
really a
did
problem
have.
anymore, does
It wasn't just like a blank scroll. It had.
Besides, you are way too
It had
tall to
the
not get
list
any guy you want.
on it.
Reason number 15. Darcenator better take really good care of you.
Yeah, he better.
Because you deserve it.
Oh, that's
Oh,
nice.
you're pretty cool too, sis. I know.
Yeah, see, look at her finding her
What?
self-worth. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Through this all, I've been thinking about how these videos put me and my sisters and friends into the public spotlight. I mean,
Yeah,
there's been a
that was a
lot of
point.
drama around here, and it's all been either indirectly or directly related to these videos. What do you think, Charlotte?
Kind of like how my life's
Are you
all
sure you want my opinion?
directly or indirectly related
We
to
started this together.
this series.
You started it, I helped. We started it, and you helped.
Yeah.
It feels like a lifetime ago.
Now it really does.
You happy we did it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some things I wish I had done differently.
That will
Life
always
isn't
be the
about
case.
do-overs.
But also, gosh, like,
I think we'll all be
would
stronger for it.
Lizzie and Darcy have gotten together if it weren't for the
Exactly.
videos? Maybe not.
Can you sign us off
Maybe
one last
yes. Oh, in this moment,
My name is Lizzie Bennett, and thank you for watching my videos.
genuine tears. And that is where I like to pretend the episode really ended.
You okay?
I
Yeah. You? You know what was unreal? What?
Lizzie, what are you
would
doing
like
in
to pretend that did not ever occur. I've mentioned this before, but this episode was shot midday on the last day. It was right before lunch, I believe. And, it was still the last day. I still had all the sad feelings. So my, you know, moment of welling up, I could just very easily lean into those feelings and really feel it. And this is something that I have learned since, but at the time would not have really given myself credit for. I thought that if I cried because Ashley was sad, that somehow that wasn't acting, right? That was sort of like cheating in a way, when of course the truth is that you got to use what you have. And that one of the real challenges of acting is allowing yourself to live in that incredibly vulnerable space in front of a bunch of other people. And that's what I did. I just let myself live in my most vulnerable feelings, and being in that space gave me easy access to Lizzie's feelings. And I hate to end on this note because this look back, as much as I enjoy poking holes at things and sharing honestly for the first time about things that I didn't think worked, I really wish that we had ended on and then cut, because one last thing that really never worked for me was this Mrs. Bennet moment. Also, like, shouldn't the line have been, "What are you doing with that camera?" or something? Like, all she's saying is like, "What are you doing in the den?" Because the implication is supposed to be right, that like she's going to know about these videos now and might find them and go back and watch them, right? Like that's the idea that we're supposed to be left with in a kind of like, oh no, funny way. And I don't think we nailed it. I'm sorry. This is my honest opinion. I think it was bad. And of course, I just don't love that literally the final seconds of the show are maybe my least favorite of all of them. But I don't think that that is what most people take away from the series. Maybe some of you forgot it happened. I try to forget. And as for what happened after, a commonly asked question, since I did share about it on social media at the time, is about a screenplay that I wrote that I called The Lizzie Bennet Wedding. I wrote it about 5 years after the Lizzie Bennet Diaries ended and said it about 5 years after the Lizzie Bennet Diaries ended, which means I had to imagine those last 5 years and make concrete some things that had always been vague, like what Lizzie did professionally. And I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, so let me be very clear that this script will never be made. It will 100% absolutely never be made. All chances of that have been fully quashed. But a few years ago, I did make a series on my Patreon about writing it, and I compared the first drafts to the last draft. And that series remains available on my Patreon, accessible from the $15 and up tiers. But I have also been working on an edit in which I just put together the parts in which I read my screenplay, essentially doing costume theater, one woman show of the whole thing. And that will soon be available on my Patreon at the $10 tier for those who really want to find out what I imagined happened after the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. I almost forgot to look at the comments. Just another cat lady speaking to my soul. Best part of this adaptation, that Lydia didn't end up with Wickham. Heck yeah. Hannah Yokoyama. What I liked about this adaptation was that they gave Charlotte a better ending, in my opinion. Heck yeah. Well, the mom thing clearly worked for ARM, saying arguably the best part of the entire series is finding out Lizzie's weird impersonation of her mother was entirely accurate. Someone else loving it, Lily's saying, Lizzie, what are you and dear Charlotte doing in here? Best final line ever. So again, I'm surprised, but y'all like this stuff I hate sometimes. The Pointless Gamer says, well, I just watched all 100 episodes in one day. It's 4:45 in the morning and I have no regrets. That is watching all 100 episodes in one night, to be clear. But you definitely crossed midnight into the next day. Cass says she wants to see the list of reasons why Lizzie Bennet is perpetually single. You don't want to see the nice list? You want to see the mean list? Think about what that says about you, Cass. Marcus says, I'm only going to watch the first episode, I said. How'd that turn out for you, Marcus? Hannah Perez says, God, I love this finale. What makes the Lizzie Bennet Diaries so amazing is not necessarily the romance for me, although don't worry, there was flailing. What I think is the most powerful thing is the strong relationships between Lizzie and her friends and sisters. Today, it can be so hard to find a story from the perspective of a female that doesn't treat her platonic relationships as if they meant less than her romantic ones. The great thing about the series is that you don't even have to compare them. They are two separate spheres in their lives. They're both important to them. And this is long. We get the point. And yeah, I mean, we've discussed that throughout, that the love story is as much between Lizzie and her sisters and Charlotte as it is with Darcy. And that is partly why we ended this way and not with a Lizzie and Darcy episode, even though we got 3 really cute ones in a row. It was an incredible thing to have been a part of, and I remain so thankful that it was a part of my life, because it also brought me you, people who engage with what I make. And I will be honest and say that it is heartbreaking at times that there are so many people who don't care about anything that I do that isn't the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. But I did also gain a small but mighty viewership that has supported my career after the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. And there are a lot of people in Los Angeles making their own series and independent films who don't have that kind of audience. And I do not take for granted how lucky I am to have people who do want to see what I do. And while, yes, there are more stories to tell about the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, and I will be back in a week with those, I'm also really excited to use some of the new free time that I will have to work on projects that light me up. I'm really excited to start work on a story that I'm very excited to tell, and I hope that you'll stick around and see what I do next.